Ah, Robert Zemeckis, a brilliant mind in cinema that has brought us many a classic. We will not be talking about his golden era, though. Instead, we're going to talk about that weird era where he pioneered. God, I'm not even sure what we call these sort of movies.
The
I guess
mocap.
motion capture and
Yes,
animation features.
yes.
Which, okay, to be fair, Polar Express and Christmas Carol, from what I understand, are overall well regarded. Once again, it's a bit of a shame we're not talking about those movies. No, no, no. The theme of this session of movies is generational commentaries. And for those of you who have been around with us for a while, you may remember one of our oldest commentaries was a look at his action fantasy magnum opus drama in 2007, the one, the only Beowulf. I
Mm-hmm.
say one and only, but there are actually quite a few adaptations of Beowulf out there. In fact, this one supposedly takes a few cues from the 90s one in particular. But this one is also pretty infamous in that it does something that apparently literally no other adaptation has done. But to say that would to spoil to the twist, and we don't want that.
All
Now,
right.
that being said, it was also being used from Zemeckis' Image Movers Club, essentially, which had previously worked on, like I mentioned, Polar Express, and on still Monster House. But, okay, the thing with Zemeckis is he had an amazing golden era with stuff like Back to the Future, Romancing the Stone, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and of course, stuff like Forrest Gump and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So, as you can imagine, that made him a big name in Hollywood. And becoming such a big name, he suddenly found himself with free reign to do whatever he wanted, and nobody to really tell him, that's a bad idea, Robert. Which, trust me, does show with this movie. So, without further ado, we're going to start right before. Okay, the trick here is to start right on the black screen before whatever logo you're starting with. Yes, different cuts of this movie have different logos, but due to the way this movie starts, assuming you're starting with the sound literally of the movie playing, they all have to sync up eventually.
You will usually have
So,
either the Warner Bros. Or the Paramount logo, but theoretically it shouldn't matter because they basically have to be synced to the actual music of a movie because it starts with the same cadence, basically. Alright,
alright
take us
then.
away,
So,
please, Jova.
without further ado, three, two, one, click.
One thing I'll mention real quick just to get the elephant in the room out of the way. Yes, Neil Gaiman is a co-writer on this movie, and yes, the accusations levied against him are really sick.
If there's something that
I
is
thought his
being
name was Gaiman.
Well, I think it's pronounced either way. It's worth noting that, again, when it comes to his case, Dweebs, people seem to understand that, he did not really use his art outside of one specific, case to fuel his own agenda. So at the very least, it's easier to separate in that case. Also to mention, I don't remember really what my opinions in general were for the original commentary. I remember that I was the one picking it because I actually saw this in theaters when it came out, and I was a kind of a fan of it at the end of the day. But over the years, my opinion changed considerably. Not necessarily for the animation, because at the end of the day, it looks like I'm just watching the humans in a Shrek movie. This is
Yeah, I
basically
was about to say, is this a Shrek movie? Did you
this
guys
is
Shrek me?
on this World Cup is on par with the quality of how the humans looked in the first Puss in Boots movie, more or less.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got the most authentic sounding British Danish people ever.
At its absolute best, this movie can look practically photorealistic, and you might even mistake it for being live action. Unfortunately, due to the age this movie was made and the technology not being ultra perfected, there is a scale. one of which can range from looks really good to, oh yeah, this looks like Shrek, the first Shrek.
They did the Rango thing before Rango, huh?
Yeah.
The one thing that I got to remember more was the original myth. I mentioned a couple of times over the Sarcastic Productions, and yes, they also do have a video that talks about the original myth of Beowulf. And this adaptation stays close to it for a while. We'll have to get to the differences later and how deliberate the changes were. But needless to say, when the adaptations stay close to it, they do a decent job. It showcases that someone actually bothered to look up to it and actually try to work for it. It has to me the same problem that the movie Troy has, which ironically was done around the same time. A lot of basically Hollywood taking a piece of European, mythology, in this case Danish, which was written eons ago, basically, and then revised by Christian monks still I think, in Denmark, talking about the Kingdom of Scandinavia, and try to put their quote-unquote spin onto it.
Funny you mentioned that, actually. A lot of people have analyzed the film and have discovered arguably themes that tie into the theories of, get this, of all people, Sigmund Freud, as well
Yes,
as Kristeva, Lacan, Jung, and Zizek.
Jung. Yeah.
So there's incest.
Well, no, thankfully, but there's a lot there's a lot more psychological. And again, one of the first things that I want to say is that Hrothgar, the king of Scandinavia, of this little place here, in the original myth, he was, just a regular ass king with just a penchant for making, parties, like in this case. In here, they want to characterize him as a kind of a, slobbing idiot, more or less.
Played by Anthony Hopkins, no less.
Again, if you haven't watched the very sarcastic production, a good way to sum up the original myth is that the story itself is simple, because the way it was constructed was kind of a bit similar to The Hobbit, which is not surprising because Tolkien took a lot of inspiration from the original, saga of Beowulf. The idea is that of a journey, for going from point A to point B, but ever so often the story basically stopped to say, oh, this place is like this because this happened. This king is in this position because this happened. It basically takes it the time to give a lore dump occasionally while the journey goes across.
As for part of why people do dig into the theories, especially from Sigmund Freud, as you'll come to see, this version of Beowulf is particularly sexually charged, as you will notice.
See, yeah, we want to see him for a while. Even the original myth, it kind of makes sense because we need to set up the reason why Beowulf has to arrive here. Beowulf is kind of like, not necessarily Hercules, but kind of like Perseus or Theseus from the Greek mythos. Just a human being who has accomplished incredible feats because he's just that cool.
I recently saw the 1999 live-action Beowulf film with Christopher Lambert.
I think I have to see it. How was it on your end?
I thought it was okay. It was produced by the same people that made Mortal Kombat, the movie.
Right.
Hell, the intro is basically, we have the Mortal Kombat intro at home.
Alright, so, much like in the original myth, Hrothgar's feast was so fucking loud that it could be heard even in, leagues and leagues away. And unfortunately, one of our villains from this movie, the K-Knight Grendel, because of the obvious biology in this case, the movie wanted to try to give him a reason, a physical reason, literally was annoyed as shit by the chanting, which, to be fair, it is the equivalent of, the meme wanting to sleep at 3 a.m., but your neighbor starts blasting, dubstep all over the place.
Although one question I've got, though, why did Robert Zemeckis take this film even though he hated the poem?
Because he wanted to quote unquote do something with it, as you will see later. Again, this in hindsight explains a lot.
Which,
I mean, it's like I've said before. Just because you're a super fan of something doesn't necessarily mean you'll make a good movie based off the source. But flat out taking it because it's not even like you're just a little disinterested in it. You flat out hate it.
Alright, photosensitivity
mean-
warning. Both in this scene that is about to happen and another one, the things are about to go apeshit. So cover your eyes
I mean-
now.
Okay, so I was gonna say, sometimes it's like, oh, I didn't like this, but there was an interesting idea here that you can probably work with. That's not a bad thing.
Well, the thing is that I would argue instead that the original Beowulf poem, while not obviously perfect or immaculate, did not really have anything that would be considerable, that flawed that require a lot of quote-unquote fixing. So it's literally, again, trying to fix something that fundamentally isn't as broken as you think it is. This is literally just some filibustering from Zemeckis, basically.
Like, to be fair, we don't know for certain if Zemeckis was on the mentality of, oh, I can fix this poem and make it better. The movie will speak for itself in that regard, but as far as we know, there don't seem to be any particular things that say for certain.
Oh my
and
god!
Yes,
it's the
Sam
movie's
Raimi direct
unfinished.
this?
It's the movie's unfinished effects.
This is Grendel, played by, of all people, Crispin Glover. That's right, it's a Back to the Future reunion.
Brilliant.
Under better circumstances than what happened with Crispin Glover in the sequels.
Jesus Christ, this is so annoying.
All this flashing going on, yeah.
Yeah.
I am jelly shocked that this made it through.
Mate, you're drunk.
testing.
You shouldn't be holding a sword.
I don't really remember what my feelings were when I watched this in theaters. It was not in that the theatrical release was PG-13, while the home video, got an R rating because there's a lot of blood that was censored in the original cut.
Fun fact, this was rated PG-13 upon release, and this has full frontal nudity.
Well, no, remember...
Is it because it's CG?
As I just said, the theatrical release had a lot of edits that removed a lot of the blood and the actual nudity with some Austin Powers censorship, while the home video release basically is quote-unquote as the intended vision.
From what I recall,
it's not as bad as the Incredibles 2 thing, but...
Okay. From what I recall, though, they censored most of the nudity, but not all of it. Basically, they pulled a Titanic, where Angelina Jolie shows up full frontal, and that was kept for the PG-13 version.
More on her later.
Angelina Jolie was in Titanic?
No, she's in this. So.
No.
Oh, sorry.
I'm referencing how Titanic got away with a PG-13 rating despite Kate Winslet having a nude scene in it.
Again, here's just to mention quickly, in the original myth, Grendel was beast-like, definitely, but was never described that much different as just, a big burly man. The only major difference is that later the story revealed that both him and his mother, again, it's not really too big of a deal, so I can say right now, were Cainites, as in descendants from the biblical Cain. How did they survive, considering theoretically the Bible says that all Cainites perished during the flood? Beats the shit out of me, but, just rolling with what we have, because, again, the original myth of Beowulf was essentially a pagan story, written a bit more by some monks. So I tried to blend in a bit between the different religions. Lovely.
Interesting.
So I guess what Zemeckis and his team took from it is that, because of Monster's appearance, Grendel should be more emaciated, almost mutated, like hit by a radiation blast. Again, Grendel's design usually tends to change no matter what the myth does, because if you play The Wolf Among Us, that version of Grendel is just a shark man.
I will say, the weird thing about this adaptation is it feels like they try to make... Lordy God. I'm the Incredible Hulk. But yeah, no, I think one thing that's a bit weird about this adaptation is it feels like it tries to make Grendel relatively sympathetic compared to a lot of other versions
But
of
no, the,
Grendel.
the the point of the original myth was that Grendel was quite literally a monster, an asshole, and a bully that needed to, be contrasted because, yes, it's worth noting that, yes, Hrothgar and his men were just partying all night long, were not giving a shit, but Grendel, had a bit too much of disproportionate retribution in doing things.
And that's the thing. This movie will even go on to call him out for that, but then we'll treat it like it's such a tragedy what happens with him. It's like, are we supposed to feel sorry for him, or is he an asshole? In fact, his mother right now is basically saying, "You dumbass."
This is like making a Devil May Cry adaptation in order to try to make the demons more sympathetic. Oh, wait.
Oh wait.
Shut up.
Are you
One
referring to
fish
that
chi-
recent show?
Yes.
No, you think?
Mom, you're embarrassing me.
No.
A lot of
Jesus.
Grendel's dialogue consists of Old English, but here's also the thing that kind of makes him an idiot. I'm not spoiling too much. It turns out he can speak regular English just fine. So he could literally have just gone to the kingdom and said, "Guys,
Cut
could you
the shit
quiet
out.
it down?"
Jesus
And they
Christ.
probably would have listened.
These effects have aged the worst, in my opinion, the zombie one.
I think that's the point. It's supposed to be a terrifying looking
Body
monster. So in a
horror.
way,
Now,
It-
I've seen Deji, I've seen better rendered, terrifying looking monsters.
Okay, so this will be the closest we get to seeing
Grendel's mother original
Grendel's
form.
mother.
She was
I don't
more
think they ever
fish-like.
gave her her own proper. I don't think they ever gave her her own proper name, even in the original poem.
No,
It's
she was just
Grendel's
Grendel's mother.
Now, we're technically seeing her in her real form, but we'll never see that directly on screen. There is concept art that shows what she looks like, and it's kind of boring. Like,
I don't remember if
like
in the video game you actually fight her. Yes, again, for those who haven't seen original commentary, there is a licensed video game out of this, and for a while I've been trying to actually recording it just for fun, but results have been mixed because unfortunately, as it was a custom for all the licensed video game of the time, it's unnecessarily difficult. And I don't mean in a case of trying to put up a challenge, but more like having obtuse mechanics. But again,
so
I will not give up just yet, don't worry.
So here's what she looks like, actually. She looks like, I'll put this lightly, E.T. mixed with a xenomorph, mixed with a Lamia, essentially.
Again,
And the Little Mermaid.
She was supposed to be, again, just a fish variant of what the Canaanites were considered, creatures with high power of some kind. So, it will be accustomed to that. And I know what you're thinking when you heard Jova say that. Wait, but I know the original poem. I know that Beowulf fights her, so what's going on? You'll see. Speaking of which, here's our titular character, played by Ray Winstone.
Ray Winstone was apparently very eager for this movie. Let's see. Good to know. Let's see. Ray Winstone actually was familiar with the original poem. He said during an interview, "I had the beauty of not reading the book, which I understand portrays Beowulf as a very one-dimensional kind of character, a hero and a warrior, and that was it. I didn't have any baggage to bring with me."
I thought you were going to say something worse there, Jova.
Also, I guess,
Yes.
yeah, that's one way to say it, but the guy makes it sound like he's so boring as a result, which I assure you, if you ever not read the original myth, it's not. The Beowulf is a kind of a fun story when you get down to it.
It's like, on the one hand, I get it, the idea that he doesn't feel beholden and, chained down to the original poem or book
I
and
get
whatnot,
it,
but all
but
the same,
it's
it's
this
the way he worded it
yeah,
that's
no,
not the
the
best.
mentality behind this movie in general seems to be the idea of, oh, this this epic did not have enough drama in it. We need to actually make it more realistic. Which
And the
again,
thing is,
same thing what happened with the movie Troy. It's just that I get your intent, but I'm questioning if why even try bothering. It's more a case of just because you can doesn't mean you necessarily should.
so let's see. In his regard, what Winstone apparently enjoyed most was working with motion capture, stating, "You're allowed to go, like theater, where you carry a scene on and you become engrossed with the scene. I love the speed of it. There was no time to sit around. You actually cracked on with the scene and your energy levels were kept up. There was no time to actually sit around and lose your concentration. So for me, I actually really enjoyed this experience." That said, unlike most of his castmates, Winstone's animated counterpart bears little resemblance to how he actually looks, which is noticeable. Like Crispin Glover, Angelina Jolie, Anthony Hopkins, you can definitely see their likenesses more in the characters. Not so much with Ray Winstone.
No, at all. They just, grab someone else to do the mocap and add Ray Winstone dub over.
To be fair, the actor was in his early 50s, but surely they could have just, de-aged him proper.
Or they could have chosen someone else that would have fit better, physically the role. Just saying.
What's mead?
It's basically liquor produced by fermentation of honey leaves.
Okay.
As a general rule of thumb, everything that has sugar in it can be fermented.
Anyway, here we have Queen Wethel, portrayed by Robin Wright, aka Wonder Woman's aunt.
And which one?
Yes.
2017.
Okay.
But yeah, basically Penphacelia.
Okay. I was just like, answer where the Wonder Woman movie, or maybe like
Yeah.
that. So I was thinking about that animated Wonder Woman movie.
No, I said the scenes in Themyscira with Edge.
Now, to her credit, you probably would have known her better at this time for being Buttercup in The Princess Bride, but I digress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She was also Belle in A Christmas Carol, the 2009 flick.
So she was semi-regular for this mocap technology thing.
John Malkovich?
Yeah. John
Yes,
Malkovich
he's in this one too.
If I recall correctly, he plays the second in command of Hrothgar, the not vizier, but counselor.
Sir, did you just say that drinking in the mead hall was a curse?
Well, they are specifically
Beowulf
to as like a bodyguard. The idea of luring Grendel. All right, let's get wasted again. Well, we need to clean up the area first. Yeah.
Yeah, of all the blood, guts, at least we moved the dead bodies, right?
I'm so glad that we took the right lessons from Space Jam and we needed to see a montage of the cleaning.
Beautiful.
Space Jam is a generational film, and I will not tolerate any slander.
Space Jam is boring. There's your slander.
Okay, Dad.
Oh, but it seems Beowulf's eyes are starting to wander.
I will take that as an implicit confession that you like Lola Bunny, Dad. Don't worry.
Actually, no, not really. I'm not really attracted to her.
Speaking of Odin,
This was 3 years before the first Thor movie.
it's almost like it was destiny.
Well, ironically enough,
John, yeah, again, people talking about their nationality when they don't sound, even if they don't sound like it.
Regarding that, yeah, Hopkins actually did ask Zemeckis on what accent he should go for as the role of Hrothgar, and Hopkins told him, Welsh would be my closest because that's where I come from. It was also his first time working with motion capture technology, so he noted he didn't exactly know what to expect out of it.
Is
Also,
this
yes.
is this the first PG-13 animated Hollywood movie?
I don't think so. Let me check. I
Hmm.
honestly think that something else had to have come before because if Fritz the Cat could get to the M rating, there has to be like an in-between thing.
X rating, but yeah.
Fair enough, yeah. Is the other movie that Rob Bakshi made the one talking about basically his contribution to the blaxploitation movement, Java, the one that you know about, also X-rated?
Coonskin,
I was trying to avoid the title, but yeah.
I mean, look, I can say it because, you know.
Dej,
Mhm.
you're not gonna like the answer. The first PG-13 animated movie apparently is considered Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. What an honor!
Well, I guess it has. Well, I guess it has that accolade now.
And it's something in common with this movie too.
I don't care what anyone says. That was the best sci-fi movie ever.
Okay, Max. Whatever.
Is that what Square Enix tells themselves?
I mean, they bother
We
to
made a great movie. Everyone's wrong.
I mean, they bother to still reference it to this day in stuff like Seven Rebirth. So I guess we're entering into the period of vague nostalgia, I suppose.
Or
Okay.
it's more like, you know what? It happened. Whatever.
Hold on. So yeah, this is something consistent also with the myth. Someone dares to challenge Beowulf Badass and says, "Oh, I heard that you lost a swimming competition one time, so you're not as cool as you think it is." And he's like, "Yeah, I did technically lost because I was busy killing a bunch of sea serpents."
Damn, I'm awesome. Also, in regards to who plays Beowulf's Lieutenant Wiglaf, that's actually Brandon Gleeson. John Malkovich instead plays Unferth.
Man, lots of flashing light and eye mutilation. This movie is definitely, the super kryptonite for Shiroi.
Like, okay, at least the flashing here makes some sense because of the lightning.
Yeah,
I
it's a
still don't get why
thunderstorm.
they put flashing in the Grendel scene. Like, it was fire and everything. Making that flashing just feels like you were trying to be obnoxious. I bathe in the blood of my enemy!
While screaming my name like a Pokemon.
Beowulf was just a man, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a reason that why he gets, as a mythological figure, he gets referenced a lot in media of all kind. It's kind of similar to Siegfried. Well, Siegfried was more divine in nature by his own right, while Beowulf was still technically more human.
I'd say Beowulf is a pioneer of a lot of tropes in hero storytelling. there's one certain aspect that, again, I'll refrain from talking about now because that would spoil the final act of a story and whatnot. But yeah, basically, chances are a lot of hero plots you've seen do take some cues from Beowulf in some shape or form. Even though we clearly see you didn't.
This is
Yeah,
supposed to be
okay.
foreshadowing, but in general, this sets, a grim tone on what this adaptation wants to do. Robert Zemeckis and, the rest of the writing team also dares to say, you know what? Maybe Beowulf wasn't so cool. Maybe he had flaws and shit.
Oh, goody. It's everyone's favorite.
Again,
The
deconstruction of something that is considered, unapproachable in itself, I don't think it's that big of a problem, but I argue the intent behind this is just the wrong angle to begin with.
Oh yeah, look. Deconstructions are like lie reveal tropes, essentially. Part of the problem with deconstructions, specifically bad ones, is that a lot of people will just take that as an excuse to say, here's why the thing you like sucks, instead of actually having anything of note to say. I won't say this movie goes to that extreme, but it is definitely one of, if not the most cynical take on Beowulf, and I don't know.
It's not
It just
helped up
feels
until this point.
pointless.
It's not helped by the fact that up until this point we did not had that many adaptations to begin with. So if it was a case where there was a lot of them, like an animated adaptation, another traditional animated adaptation or a live action one, because I think if I recall correctly, the one where you saw Waves still takes a lot of liberties by giving it a modern context, if I recall correctly. But my point is that if there were a lot enough, something like this in order to spice up and talk about it in a different context would be more understandable. The idea of exploring something that everyone knows, just in a different way. The problem is that the myth of Beowulf is known from scholars and people who like mythology on paper. This is a Hollywood movie, and notoriously, people who tend to consume only movies tend to be mostly on the lazy side. I'm sorry for sounding rude, but it's just a fact. So they wouldn't have that many, much context in what it is, that makes the myth of Beowulf before this. So having this for a lot of them to be their first exposure to it needs to be something important about it, and instead they choose to do this. It's kind of similar to what happened with Troy. I was lucky enough that I had to study the Iliad in school for, at the literature, equivalent of class, But otherwise, if Troy had been my first exposure, that would have been terrible.
I will say this. I don't agree with the notion that just because somebody prefers to watch movies over reading the books, that makes them inherently lazy. I do, however, agree that Hollywood seems to run off of that notion that somebody who enjoys movies over books is lazier and thus easier to please, so they don't have to worry about the source material. But I'll also say this, source material is not always going to be God. Yes, it's often good to stay true to an adaptation, but there are a lot of movies that have grown popular by being different from their books, some of which some people would say are even improvements over the original here and there. No one case is truly the same. That being said, while I wasn't as familiar with the original poem of Beowulf, I was still aware of Beowulf at the time, but as somebody who's now more familiar with the original poem of Beowulf, I don't think it's a particularly hard or even really disgraceful story to do. It's, at its core, more or less a heroic epic with three major parts, essentially. Three major enemies that Beowulf has to basically counter in different stages of his life, and that's pretty much it. So, I don't feel like it's something that's hard to get or something that really needed to be super deconstructed either. Now, mind you, adding in different aspects to maybe try and flavor it up, sure, I'm fine with that. Like, again, at the end of the day, it is an Old English poem, so adding some substance here and there can work. The problem, of course, is what they chose to do with this one. Now, apparently at the time when this thing came out, people were, I'm going to say, relatively nice to it. It sits
Yeah,
at a
so
71% on Rotten Tomatoes.
like I said, I saw this in theaters and I still liked it back then. Cannot deny it.
So, here is one thing, though, to point out, though. Some people did indeed enjoy it, essentially, even Roger Ebert at the time. The thing is, though, the people who were most disappointed with this movie were the people that this movie was the most aimed at. That being scholars and whatnot most familiar with the poem here. Not to say that Beowulf's like, a no-name or whatnot, but chances are the biggest enthusiasts are going to be people familiar with the original poem here. And most people who've read the original poem are not often kind to this movie from what I've seen overall. I mean, there are some who still like it, but from what I've seen, reception among like super fans of Beowulf's lore are, well, it ranges from mixed to they hate this movie, essentially. Specifically,
the iRobot situation, like the people who really hate are the ones who've actually read the book.
Ask and receive, Your Honor.
And
hey, Taya, did you know
what
the development behind that movie?
Yeah, so Disney wanted to make it, then it went to Fox, so technically now it went full circle.
Yeah, but it's like the thing. It was supposed to be a detective mystery story, but Disney's like, "Oh, this is a good idea. Let's change it." They made aliens. And then it was like, no. So Fox did. It's like, okay, there's an idea here, and we also got the iRobot license as well. So they were like, okay, let's change this random script into iRobot, even though the writer was a fan of Asimov's work.
Why are you screaming out, dude? The party doesn't seem that loud. I guess it's just that one horn that gets
the harp, I guess.
I recommend watching Pointless Hub's review of that movie.
Okay.
Anyway, my point is that I'm guessing due to the key audience not being the most favorable to this movie, may have been part of why it was technically a box office bomb. On a budget of $150 million, it made $196.4 million. So a profit in the general eyes, but
it was technically still quite a bit of money, but because of the technology used, the budget was super inflated. Though I am curious to check what this was competing against. This was released in November 2007, so let me see.
So I think the basic way to put it is like, as its own movie, one could deem this as fine enough. The most criticism comes to its deviations from the original poem, so its problems are as an adaptation. Make of that what you will.
Alright, we had... Southland Tales came out the day before this, and that one made a lot more money, so I guess a lot of people went to see that instead. There was also... well, no, there was No Country for Old Men a few days before, but not many people saw that either.
Oh, here we go.
Alright, this. Yes, this is also consistent with the original myth. Beowulf's logic is that because Grendel fights unarmed, he too should do the same. Of course.
So here's my problem. This movie clearly wants us to take it seriously, but then we'll do stuff as silly as Austin Powers censorship and whatnot. Like, guys, pick a tone. And yes, I get it. Some might say it was for censorship, but I'm sorry, when you're doing Austin Powers style of censorship, that usually translates to humor.
Okay, yeah, judging from the stuff that was released nearby this movie, I can tell that the movies that people went to see alongside this but more would be instead Southland Tales, like I mentioned, and Enchanted, which was released. The first Enchanted was released a couple of days after. Dweebs, Hitman was also released around the same time, so it was caught in the crossfire too.
Well, not that Hitman in the state it was in, the movie really deserved much.
No,
to be
but it's
honest.
interesting to see that the box office was that was a relatively packed zone back then. Damn.
Interestingly enough, Enchanted is like the opposite of Beowulf. It costs less to make, yet made a ton more. Since that one had a budget of $85 million and made $340.5 million at the box office. So Disney doing what Disney often does.
All right, time to sing.
The nudity helps him concentrate.
Clearly.
I don't want to know how you sow your oats.
It was ye old day, Dwibs. This was the entertainment then. You have time to speak about our Lord and Savior! Bayo. Idiot.
Like, yeah, what do you think was gonna happen?
Dead.
Alright, here we go again. Again, it's supposed to be a magical power that Grendel is having in order to create a deliberate confusion so he can, go on the hunt. But it's, again, just distracting.
I'm
For
sorry,
reference, I
it's
mentioned this a couple of times. I think this effect works better when watching on a TV from afar. Because while still, having a lot of, the flashing being annoying, it's less intrusive for your eyes. But because, again, there was less foresight about people watching these like on a monitor relatively close instead, they probably did not know what the damage could have happened. There you go, spell destroyed.
Seriously, that pose is straight out of
pose.
Austin Powers and everything with the nudity.
I remember Superman, which honestly will fit. Now, Grendel, what I told you about the promise of over there?
Also, surprisingly, the bald dude is still alive despite being frozen.
Give it a few seconds, Rova.
Oh, thank you for that. That covers my junk just fine. Beowulf, you want to maybe hurry to help your... No, I guess he figured that guy deserved to die.
Oh, so good.
It's the extra brain.
I eat them first because warriors don't use them.
And yeah, that's the thing. You can tell that Grendel clearly takes pleasure in violence. So again, trying to make him supposedly sympathetic is... I'm sorry, what are you doing?
Whee!
Thank you, Gleason.
Unfortunately...
Yeah, no. He has no junk, so we can't attack him in his weak point. So what you're saying is that Grendel's really just pissed because he has penis envy.
Clearly.
I joke, but apparently there were Freud themes in this, Freudian.
So yeah, this is where Beowulf discovers Grendel's weak point about the sound.
He has an abnormally huge eardrum.
Specifically on one side.
It's a good job this doesn't take place in modern day, because all everyone would need to do is get their iPhones out, hook it to a Bluetooth speaker, and just blare away.
Ow, 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 ow. Ugh.
Also, I guess Grendel is shrinking now because he looks a lot smaller in that shot.
We're operating on Stephen King's It logic, where you just can bully Pennywise into becoming smaller. But now we're about to have the most iconic part of the mythos, the one that everyone who even knows superficial about, the poem actually remembers, basically how the fight ends.
Wow,
Which again,
so much so he was
it-
reduced to becoming a blubbering wreck.
God, this is like that scene from Shrek. Bonk. It speaks, but we don't give it subtitles. Oh, never mind. There they are.
Yeah, and the terror that flaps in the night. So yeah, here's the iconic part. Beowulf rips literally one of Grendel's arm off his body. Yeah, which has some level of rigor mortis.
I won't go touching the blood.
This is why in a lot of not adaptations but things that reference the myth of Beowulf, they specifically talk about Grendel's arm.
Some clothes on.
Yeah, it's like that scene from The Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. Take your damn clothes on.
Take your damn clothes off.
How long is a Beowulf poem?
Not really that much. It's more of a case where, again, like I said, when there's not a lot of meandering about the descriptive stuff about, how things are, in a sense, the story is fairly contained. About problem with Grendel. Beowulf arrives, deals with Grendel, then deals with the mother, and then deals with another problem a bit later.
Now I have to ask a really stupid question.
Go on.
Yes.
Was Friday the 13th influenced by Beowulf? Beowulf?
I
Like it's
don't.
like Grendel, Jason. I was like you talk about the mother.
Not necessarily. Like, I don't really think the makers of the Friday the 13th, franchise use that as a kind of a footprint in a sense of, being a homage to it. I get what you mean. Maybe it's all about parallels and themes similar to how Brother Where Art Thou is loosely inspired by the Odyssey. But no, I don't really think so.
Okay, okay. I was just a weird thought that just came to my mind right now.
I don't get why they never actually show Angelina Jolie's monster form in full on camera, just only in reflections.
I guess they want to build the mystery.
Well, that's the thing. We never actually get to see her monster form fully in film. Since when she actually is on camera properly, it's, well, as Angelina Jolie, basically.
They know what the people want. I mean, what?
Yeah. I was about to say, man, I'm not particularly complaining, but,
Yeah, they'll ignore the bit where it says they die drinking
Clearly.
and got killed by a monster.
Speaking of drinking, let's drink
But
to their memory.
what are we gonna say? Someone asks, but how did they die? They died fighting the great. Tries to look for a sign. Toilet door. Yeah, that's it. The great toilet door.
Yeah, so they were trying to defend Outer Heaven from being conquered by the Fox unit. But enough about Detroit.
How many times has how many roles has Anthony Hopkins had like that?
Too many. He's just kind of typecasted for that.
Well, when he's not typecast as a crazy man.
Mm-hmm. What was that movie that he was in not too long ago? Something like Dear Father, I think, which basically combines the two typecasting.
So.
Thank you.
How long is it going to be till it turns out the monster isn't really dead?
Well, you'll see. That is true, however. Like, we're celebrating prematurely just because they ripped the arm off of Grendel. In the original myth, if I recall correctly, after the arm raping, Beowulf absolutely, makes sure that Grendel is dead, but the body, like, disappears. And then later, when Beowulf confronts Grendel's mother in her lair, also detaches the Grendel's head from his body and brings both of them back.
She's just mad because she looked into the future and saw the reputation the Maleficent movie series will have.
Clearly. Let me check. Outside of supposedly the third Maleficent movie, what is Angelina Jolie doing these days? Let me see.
You mean aside from adopting a ton of kids?
That was a meme from 10 years ago, Drova.
Well, keep in mind when this movie came out.
Right. Okay, she was in two movies recently. One called a biography of Maria Callas, the opera singer, and a 2025 movie called Couture. And she has two movies where she's working on, one called Anxious People and the other called Sunny. But other than that, her other more recent movie role was Eternals.
Oh god, this bit. So, another thing this movie took from the 90s film was, okay, the queen married to the king Hakravoris, Hugarovkar, is in a loveless relationship, essentially. So you can imagine where things will go when she suddenly sees this stud of a man.
Oh no!
The cockcock.
Oh no!
You can't escape it. I'm sorry.
All right, I'm gonna start writing down the ultimate cuck arc of all time to end all cuck arcs.
Okay, remind me, Tio, in
Maybe
the
Paul Heyman
original...
get in here.
As far as I know, I don't remember that Beowulf, was interested in Rodkar's wife. No, he gets nominated to be leader of the land. Yes, but yeah, this technically what happened now is consistent. Grendel's mother arrives and kills almost everyone.
Except for Blandon Gleeson's character, his lieutenant.
Mm.
Oh?
Yeah, how do you know that? Well, tough shit.
About Grendel's father.
It's also worth noting one thing that I don't think it's consistent in these movies, but K-Knights, Grendel's and his mother, were considered almost immune to traditional weaponry, so only magical artifacts could properly slay them. Beowulf managing to rip the arm off was considered like a, impossible feat. But in order to kill Grendel's mother, he needed to use a magic sword.
But maybe John Malkovich's character, Unferf here, might have something that can help Beowulf.
But
Also, yeah, that face earlier during the nightmare sequence near the end of it. Yeah, I didn't need sleep tonight anyway.
Yeah.
so your grandfather, you can just say
But my
that
father's father sounds fancier.
it sounds something like Mojo Jojo will say.
My father, my father's father, my father's 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 father.
I love it. I know I might die, but I'm more sorry if your sword doesn't come back to you.
Well, I can see what he means by that. It's an artifact that survived generations, so, it is kind of important to the family line and everything. Because of the short lifespan that people always had, especially during ancient times, it was kind of important that their living legacies was in the objects that, their descendants kept.
Oh, okay. I guess that was it for that scene then.
Yes, meanwhile, in the Misty Mountains.
Visit New Zealand.
Yeah, let me check where they actually took inspiration from because they not filmed, but they needed to have some inspiration from the locations.
Well, that's promising. I got it. Mr. Lee! Mr. Lee! I have an orphanage of kids for you to adopt!
That was one of the initial jokes of, I think, Disaster movie.
To be fair, her and Brad Pitt were legit adopting a lot of kids. It was kind of crazy.
I already told you, if I ever get to see Disaster movie again, the alcohol poisoning might genuinely kill me.
Okay. Alright.
So, in the original myth, Beowulf literally founds the lake of where the mother of Grendel, resides, literally plunges himself in, holds his breath because he's just that cool, and manages to get into her lair so he can fight her. If I recall correctly, things go different here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, this is where a lot of people's problems with the movies majorly start. So, hey, I guess to be fair, relatively late into the film, right? Oh boy, the problem is just the weight of it all. Again, they keep teasing her true form, but you'll never actually get to see it proper on screen.
Can not
Oh.
afford to animate it or something.
Weird.
I feel like they could, and again, we know that they had the design all ready to go.
Maybe they did some testing and believed that the design was too goofy, so they wanted to have,
Oh my god,
Not
I'm
that,
so
not
stupid.
not that it
What?
stopped the monster from earlier.
I don't
I
understand.
just realized that Beowulf from Skullgirls is based off him.
Yeah.
Even has the arm.
Like I said, that this story in general, not this movie, but this story in general is influential on other things. Even again, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
I am yelling!
Okay, that was like a split second and you'll miss it bout of her true form, I guess. I guess we saw her true form against the gold.
Similar to,
And I missed it.
similar to Beowulf penis, I guess.
Here we go.
Oh my god, it's Lara Croft.
That first Tomb Raider movie was actually really good.
I do like it.
Have you seen Cradle of Life yet, Dodger?
The second
And
one, yeah.
we go. Yep,
I liked it except for the ending. It kind of ruined it
Now,
for
to be
me.
fair, Jovan, they do the whole thing about, not exposing the creases of the particular bits of nudity, so it kind of counts the equivalent of having a skin-tight suit, which, it is still skirting the line, but I get it.
Okay, so Angelina Jolie regarding this movie. Let's see. So Angelina Jolie had to work with Zemeckis, and she actually had read the poem years before, but couldn't remember it well until she read the script, and then she was able to recall the basic theme. So Jolie actually did technically do her homework for this one. Now, her first impression of her character's appearance was by saying, and I quote, "I was told I was going to be a lizard. Then I was brought into a room with Bob and a bunch of pictures and examples, and he showed me this picture of a woman half painted gold and then a lizard. And I got kids, and I thought, that's great, that's so bizarre. I'm going to be this crazy reptilian person and creature." She also filmed this role over 2 days when she was 3 months pregnant. She was apparently startled by the fact that her character does have a nude human form, stating that, "I was really surprised that I felt that exposed."
So yeah, here's where the biggest changes start to occur. Again, in the original myth, Beowulf just manages to find, Grendel's mother, or rather she finds him. They have a fight, it's kind of a bit goofy in the way it's presented, but Beowulf ultimately wins thanks to his magic sword. Here, the movie presents the fact that he has absolutely no chance in harming her.
Now, here's part of my problem here. What this movie tries to do is present this as a problem that will be caused by his actions, and that supposedly it is his fault. But the thing is, the movie made her basically invincible, so technically what he does, as far as anyone knows at this point, is technically the best choice, even though it's kind of weird.
Although it's worth noting that it is not where the problem ends. Because remember that scene with the mermaid before? That was supposed to be foreshadowing for this, that Beowulf, at least this version of Beowulf, can get corrupted by Hanky Panky. And I mean,
Okay,
I would too, but that wasn't what it was in the original myth.
like on the one hand, Angelina Jolie is insanely hot. But here's part of my problem with this. This movie tries to treat it like his folly, but what could he have done? He apparently couldn't hurt her. She was invincible, so technically he saved the day by, and I'm not kidding here, boning Angelina Jolie.
Oh no, the horror.
Oh god, the heroic struggles. Oh, this poor man having to make out with Angelina Jolie. Oh, the suffering. Oh god, it should have been me. Take me instead. But yeah, no, like, again, here's part of the problem. You know how I mentioned that Grendel is kind of unintentionally unsympathetic despite the movie trying to make him sympathetic? Well, ironically, the movie tries to make Beowulf seem bad for this, but no, this is technically the best thing he could do in the situation. So, like, again, I have to wonder, this isn't even about of deconstructing the original or trying to do a take that at the original. This feels like somebody didn't read the script and, kind of didn't realize the contradiction.
Also, just to mention,
are you sure you killed him this time?
yes.
I mean, he brought Grendel's head and everything.
Just to mention, the sword is integrating. That was instead another reference to the original, where after he kills Grendel's mother, the sword that he had, the magic sword that he had, poofs away because it's a one-time use. Not even kidding. Fucking even in ancient mythos, you could not escape shitty weapon durability. God damn.
Now the thing
so that's what Breath of the Wild was referencing.
And Dark Souls 2.
Now, the thing I dislike the most about the change is that it effectively makes Grendel's mother a karma Houdini.
Yes, so in
the worst
alert,
ways possible.
She gets away with everything.
It's just a weird thing to do. It doesn't even feel like it's part of the deconstruction. I guess it was them wanting to try something different and, dare I say, hint at a sequel of all things.
Not just
but
that,
we'll save that for the end.
I want to use this comparison, something that came out recently that has some similar vibes to it, but I argue pulls it off just well. Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origins, because the way it is described, which really fits to me, is the fact that the first Final Fantasy is how the story is told, while Final Fantasy Origin, Stranger of Paradise, are what really happened. And they're trying to do something similar here. The idea that the mythos is how the people remember about the story, but here's how things really happened. The problem is that in order to build up drama for it, it gives such an unsatisfying product. One is instead Stranger of Paradise, you manage to balance out, not necessarily comedy, but its themes and the drama they build up in such a fantastic manner.
Also, she's no hag. We both know that. Based off of some versions, she can indeed be a hag.
Yeah. If you haven't watched the overly sarcastic production video, you might be tempted to wonder: do they reference this movie? There is just one single reference in it: the scene where Grendel's mother has to enter the hall in order to massacre the other, Beowulf's men, whatever remains of Beowulf's men. She's initially painted as. They're drawn as, Angelina Jolie's character, until the real Grendel mother squashes her and moves on.
Yeah. Overly sarcastic productions do those kinds of skits, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a more subtle kind of way to, in a case of, the statement of, I did not like this movie.
Like, to be fair to Angelina Jolie's take on the character, Grendel's mother being able to take on a more sexy form, that's been a thing in tons of adaptations. This is far from the first one to do it and whatnot. In fact, if I recall correctly, that was hinted to be a thing in the original poem as well, where she starts off monstrous, but then goes to a more humanoid form when she tries to pull a knife on him. Which, yeah, okay, about that. You may have noticed that her human form has literal high heels for feet. Some people posit the idea that because apparently in Italian, stilettos can mean another word for knives, they think that's what they were going for with the high heels feet, since she does try to pull a knife on Beowulf at the end of their fight in the original poem.
For those who don't know, the medieval, city-states in my country invented a fuck ton of daggers just for fun, so including, for example, the Cinque Dea, which is super impractical. It's supposed to represent the five fingers of a hand, and it's wide as shit.
But it seems that Old Man Hopkins is not quite satisfied for some reason.
Yes, we
But
heard you
he
the
deems
first
that
time.
Beowulf will be the next king. You okay there, Anthony?
So yeah, unfortunately,
And
we ran out of budget to pay Anthony Hopkins for the movie, so I'm sorry he has to go.
I wonder if it's to keep his secret or something.
This also continues the fact that again, Rotgar himself
Wait,
is also deconstructed the idea that he knew about Grendel's mother and he made a covenant with her, in the past, which is just no. I'm sorry.
Okay, the thing is, yeah, Grendel being Hrothgar's secret son, this was not actually the first adaptation to do that. The 1999 one
Oh,
actually
the
did
one that
that
you watched,
too.
Waves.
yeah. Well, so wait, what's just happened there?
Anthony Hopkins committed the society and by jumping off a cliff, and Grendel's mother took his body.
So congratulations, Beowulf, as Angelina Jolie promised, you're king. Like, I guess they imply that this is part of her machinations. I'll admit, when we first watched this, I presumed it was the king going mad from guilt of knowing the truth that Beowulf would be more loved by his people, and now he is technically responsible for Grendel's existence. So hey, look at the bright side. At least he didn't, at least Beowulf didn't, have make the wife cheat with him yet before the king died. But what's this? Pictures of a dragon. And someone slaying a dragon. Could this be
So,
foreshadowing?
as his first official act as king, I decree that
We have a time skip. Yes.
yeah, I decree that we skip
This is the
time.
weirdest Game of Thrones episode ever.
Fun fact, a lot of people thought this movie was actually ripping off 300 because of stuff like the I am Beowulf thing, even though technically this movie had finished production before
Is
300.
is this a
Did
finale
they
episode?
come out the same year?
Well, Dweeb, so Beowulf kind of forgot about Grendel's mother.
Well, okay, technically she promised she would not trouble him anymore, which technically she stays true to the letter of that law.
It's more of a case
Anyway,
of as long as you don't come back here to fuck things over.
Anyway, to answer your question, Judge, 300 came out in 2006.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, technically Beowulf had finished production before 300 came out, but obviously because, 300 came out before, as far as people knew, it seemed oddly similar in some regards.
Forgot that. Have I shown you that movie yet?
300?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay, then. Noted.
I saw part of it on TV. Who went a couple of years after it came out. So I kept, especially with the height of Sparta memes.
Mm-hmm.
We're not barbarians, after all.
This again also continues the problem by showcasing that, after the time skip, Beowulf has become kind of ruthless as a king, while in the original mythos he mostly stays the same, even when he becomes the ruler of the land.
If anything, the idea was that he gets wiser with age.
As a king probably should, but no, we need to have the drama.
Well, if they act wiser, there would be no plot for the drama.
Well, I guess at least it shows that he has a sense of honor.
Oh, Teo, I have things to tell you after we're done recording.
Sure.
About idiot plots.
So basically, strike me down and I will be more powerful than you've ever known. Let's see. Finna Fraser is played by
Beowulf,
Frederick
you need to
Hiller.
stop stripping for every single fight, you know. This is becoming a problem.
I like how he even had to struggle taking off a shirt. Jesus.
Also, fool, don't you know anything about Fire Emblem? Sword beat axe.
Oh.
When you roll a 20 in intimidation. Yeah, me too. He's just like me for real.
I mean, hey, okay, to his credit, at least they show that he's not a barbarian of sorts. Like, he wages some wars, but
He just
he
needed
still has a
someone to
sense of
talk to
honor.
him.
So what, you're saying that was basically his own little personal therapy
He
session?
literally
Yeah, I was gonna say, so
not-
Beowulf needed a
He
therapist.
did trauma dumped on the guy, technically.
But at least he gave him a gold piece for listening.
Oh, thank goodness. Did Spider-Man ever do something with that kid in Spider-Man Lotus where he trauma dumped on?
Oh,
Oh,
God.
Lord God Almighty!
God, I was so hoping not to reference that movie here today when we
Also-
talked about making things out of spite.
This is Ursula, Beowulf's concubine. Great.
Define
I don't know.
concubine.
I forget. A
Bad-
concubine.
bad maiden,
Ergo, basically a
Ah.
lover who's not his wife.
Bad
technically.
companion. There you go, to use Elden Ring terms.
Okay, his mistress. Gotcha.
Well, that's the thing. Mistress would imply that it's wrong, but you see, a concubine is someone who's legally okay to sleep with, who's not your wife, essentially.
Well, you remember, Jova, it's like in Robin Hood, sorry, Men in Tights. It's good to be the king.
But it seems that Beowulf does not feel fully
Joy.
satisfied. Again, how much of this is from the original poem, I'm a bit iffy on. Like, I do recall there were, like, some struggles he was having with older age, but most of it was tied with, well, the actual threat.
It was not at the threshold fast, I will tell you that.
Also, there's his actual wife, the queen, who I'm sure is not at all hateful of the concubine.
Yeah, she's with, well, Ursula is her name. Let me check who she's played by. Alison Lohman.
Nausicaa. English one.
For the 2005
Okay.
dub.
So yeah, that little person actor is also played by Ray Winstone there.
Okay. Oh. Alison Lohman kinda stopped acting since the mid 2010s. Not sure why. Maybe she just decided to retire. Oh, she's also a strong Republican supporter. Fuck
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So yeah, recreation of the myth about the arm being ripped off.
Pretty good effects for the time.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of Zootopia, the Zootropolis, with the blood being represented by the ribbons.
Oh yeah, I remember that scene in Zootropolis where Judy got fed up with with the wolf's shit and ripped his head off.
Fox.
Fox, yeah, whatever.
Boy, Unferth aged up the most of the characters. He looks like the evil king from Heavenly Sword of all things.
A bit too skinny
Okay,
for that.
okay, yeah. So I was thinking about that, but that movie is like, that's very heavily. I'm getting heavily sword vibes. So like, okay, they
So yeah, this is a problem. Again, this goes similar to the original myth, where what steers the trouble when Beowulf is older and the king is that some idiot goes to pillage a treasure from a dragon's cave, which steers up the trouble. In here, they try to combine that with the whole, the treasure was left in Grendel's mother's cave, and she said, if anyone steals from this is where I'll start causing chaos again.
Now, they do mention, like in the original, that a slave apparently brought it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
I think again in the original myth it was just our petty thief. He had a name. It was a character with a name and everything, but it wasn't super relevant.
I think in
Also,
the
Broke my
original poem,
trombone.
horn. Thank you, Lives. Also, to mention, if you pay attention, in order to show the passage of times, you noticed that the Christianity religions had taken seeds into the court of King Beowulf, just in a more subtle way.
Right, yeah. Yeah, in the original poem it was a slave, and apparently in this case it was also a slave. The problem I have with this is we effectively have something of a liar revealed plot on our hands.
Lovely.
God help me. A cuck arc for Dedge and a liar revealed plot for me.
And me too.
What's going to be the quote unquote favorite trope for me? I wonder.
bad CGI.
God damn it, I was about to say.
Yeah.
Boy, you'd be great at Speed and Jeopardy.
Like Alex Trebek.
No maidens.
I would say absolutely not to participate in Jeopardy.
I love it. We were like one step closer to the no bitches me from Megamind.
My best guess as to why they did this for the third act was to, I guess, try and add on more substance, since from what I recall of the original poem, the third act mostly just goes straight into the whole, oh shoot, there's a dragon,
Yes,
deal with
kill
it,
it,
please.
and Beowulf dies at the end. That's it.
So yeah, this is also a good point for me to mention. Beowulf was the pioneer of the dragon slayer trope. From what I understand, dragons up to that point were seen as mostly just invincible. Like, they were all that in a bag of chips. They could do whatever plots needed to do. Beowulf was apparently the first European story to give the idea that there are limits to dragons' abilities and that they could be defeated.
Not to mention the whole hoarding amounts of treasures for themselves. Again, like I said, Tolkien took a lot of inspiration from the original myth for even basic stuff like, Smaug. Oh god, that bald guy. Like Smaug for The Hobbit, or the myth of Turin Turambar, based instead on the story of Siegfried.
Okay, first of all, damn, Agent 47 had quite the mutation.
No, Dreams, like you said, the Hitman movie got released a few days after.
And second, okay, movie. You did have me the first time with the scary face monster fake out bad dream thing, but this is the second time you've done it now.
This was the late 2000s, where the concept of instilling horror in a movie were, jump scare fest galore, unfortunately. We were lucky to have stuff like the Saw movies instead.
Also, get it? The marital problems of course, him having to sleep with his concubine before he sleeps with his actual wife. Because he can't share his problems with his actual wife? Question mark? Like, okay, here's part of the problem with the time skip. It feels, and yes, I do get that that was a thing in the original poem, but given the changes that this movie's trying to do, you feel like they would have at least given us something of a montage or something to show the change in time and get why suddenly he doesn't talk to his wife as much, especially since he loved her and everything.
Okay, movie. Wow, I did not knew, but I guess I needed like an elongated, like 2 minute, 2.5 or 3 minute scene and a 360 shot to showcase how to spectacularly fail the Bagdale test.
Admit, I completely forgot about this scene involving his wife and his concubine.
The cucking will continue until morale improves, which probably will be never.
Well, there's something you don't see every day.
It's Sean Connery.
Get it? The cross was even on fire and everything. So yes, a golden-skinned man who is also played by Ray Winstone. Yep! Ray Winstone plays not just the hero, but the final antagonist of the film.
This was 2 years before the Zack Snyder Watchmen adaptation to boot.
Wait, Zack Snyder?
Naked people with funny colors, Dr. Manhattan.
Oh, that, yeah.
It's a real shame that Steve Jobs died of ligma.
Who the hell is Steve Jobs?
Lick my balls.
Boom. Again, Scenes of a Father is a particular type of classic Shakespearean type of drama.
There's the trope I hate.
So this is
Sins
one.
of the Fathers.
Yeah.
It's the same problem that the Lord of the Rings movies had in injecting something new. Again, the whole Scenes of the Father that creates unnecessary drama and angst.
How's the bloody kid's fault what the dad did?
No. Basically, this is more so the fault of Beowulf. Okay. Again, like I said, here's what I don't like or really dig about this, essentially. They go on about how this is Beowulf's fault. Again, as far as even us, the audience, know, banging Angelina Jolie was all he could do to save the day since she was invincible to even the magical MacGuffin sword.
But Jova, he had the gall to lie about that to everyone else.
Which, okay, that's a bit bad on him, but again, the thing is, it's technically the slave's fault for stealing the treasure, essentially, since apparently that's what gets the dragon to even come out. Which leads me to wonder, okay, given Angelina Jolie's character, I don't know if she was also hanging out in that cave and just waiting for someone to steal the treasure, or she just faffed off. Like, she will show up at, like, the very last second, but...
There is the implication that she allowed the events to happen to deliberately steer Beowulf's on into action for the case of, let us manipulate the event in order to breach the contract so that chaos can reign again. Again, the idea of being Cainites, suggests that they want to be duplicitous in nature and inherently willing to fuck over humanity.
So the dealio here is, and arguably the biggest change, is that the dragon, the final antagonist of the Beowulf narrative, is Beowulf's son in this version. This is something even the 1999 version did not do. As far as I know, this is the only adaptation that has done it, and this is the biggest problem that Beowulf enthusiasts have with it. Shoot, even people who aren't familiar with the narrative of Beowulf kind of go, what? Why?
Yeah, the biggest question, why?
Okay, let's assume you don't even know about the original Beowulf narrative. What purpose does making the dragon Beowulf's son serve? To maybe, I guess, repeat the folly of Grendel being the original king's son? But then that just leads us to ask, Why did the original king have a son with Angelina Jolie if she was a monster?
And what is Grendel's Barber goal in it? Like to plant, puppet kings in the court of Scandinavia? For what
Like,
purpose?
keep in mind, Grendel's mother from the start was saying, Grendel, don't do this, they're going to kill you, so she clearly knew it was a bad idea, yet... And yes, I get, maybe the idea is that she loved him so much that she wanted revenge, but I feel like she could have done more to keep Grendel from going out if she really didn't want him to get out, given how powerful and invincible she apparently is. Honestly, I think it would have been better if they at least kept Beowulf killing her. Like, maybe have him sex her up, but I don't know. Maybe he kills her at some point, but has the kid if you really had to. But no, my inkling is that I guess they wanted to turn Angelina Jolie's character into like this big, overarching villain, one who could potentially even come back for, again, a sequel of all things. Like, that's the only real narrative purpose I can really get with the changes they made for her character, because otherwise, very unsatisfyingly, she gets away with this all. I mean, it's just a dragon. How hard could it be?
Again, the original myth
Ask,
was
ask Bilbo Baggins.
the original poem was hilarious because the actual dragon in the actual dragon fight, Beowulf sustains a stupid amount of damage, but he keeps going because it's just that cool. But I guess that's not Shakespearean enough for the big screen, I suppose.
It's weird. It's one of those cases where a movie is trying to be more sophisticated than the original literature, whereas a lot of people often figure that movies are trying to be more simplistic than their original
Like I
narratives.
said, Troy suffers the same identical problems. Hey, let's take this Greek, poem that talks about this gigantic conflict and how the gods intervene in it, and remove all the supernatural elements. Just make it a parallel to the war on terror because that's what's happening right now.
I mean, Pluto, the Astro Boy adaptation was basically a revamping of the world's strongest robot, and had the terrorists that for like war on terror stuff that was going on with America and the Middle East. So it's not unfounded, but it's still,
Mm-hmm.
I love it. She waits there for him just to have the setup of "Too late, my love," and literally has her son pose right there just to aura farm and then breathe
Also,
fire at him and somehow miss.
time for me to be pedantic again. That's not a dragon, that's a wyvern.
Okay, sir? What have you seen a dragon before? And have you seen a wyvern?
Yes, I killed plenty of them in From Software games.
Okay, but what's the difference between a dragon and a wyvern?
Dragon, 4 legs, 1 pair of wings. Wyvern, 2 legs, 1 pair of wings.
Yeah, as far as quote-unquote dragon designs go, I feel like they could have done better.
Like, I've seen worse. Again, try to watch. I was not quoting. I was referencing Dragonheart before. Try to watch it again because unfortunately, Sean Connery's dragon character special effect have aged even worse than this movie.
I mean, yeah, given how old that movie is,
I think
and
it was
everything.
like 1999.
Oh, that looks like a handy weak spot.
This was foreshadowed by the Means Horn. Anthony Hopkins' character Hrothgar even pointed that out. Literally, that was more foreshadowing.
So to this I ask, hey, if all her kids have weaknesses, why doesn't Angelina Jolie have a weakness? Why is she...
Because she's built different.
Clearly.
I find it interesting. This is yet another case where we're just, robbed of Angelina Jolie turning into a dragon, just like the Maleficent movie. It's like what? Are people afraid that Angelina Jolie turning into a dragon will not make her hot?
Would like to remind that the movie Enchanted came out around the same time as this, and that as the villain turned herself into a dragon. Funniest shit I've
Yeah.
ever seen. If anything, the problem I have with that movie is that when she turns into a dragon, she talks way too much.
I guess it's to show she still has her humanity
It's
in
not
her.
just that; it's the fact that she constantly loves to lampshade the fairy tale cliche during the entire final battle. It's so annoying.
Even though the entire
To be
movie
fair,
was doing
that's
that.
kind of that's kind of the point of Enchanted to be,
I get it, Jova, but there's a way to do it, and the climax of that movie is basically taking, the film canister and bashing it into my skull.
Okay, so I guess technically this is one of those forms of dragon where the hands are at the end of the wings.
Well,
Because with
yeah,
wyverns, usually they don't have.
It's supposed to be like the wings of a bat, so the prehensile part, are supposed to be the hands. So that's what the mutation is for.
When it comes to wyverns, typically they don't have claws or hands at the end of their wings, so that's usually the main difference, I guess.
And what's a dragoon?
Depends on the context. In real life, they were, an elite group of knights that just had a dragon insignia on, that they used for, video game purposes, mostly Final Fantasy. It's a specialized class that uses spear, very agile, a bit of a glass cannon, but specializes in fighting dragons.
Well, that was
Because I was thinking
handy.
of Panzer Dragoon. It's like you're a dragon, even though you look like a wyvern.
It's also in the Japanese title Drakengard, Dragon Dragoon.
Ah,
Taste the
Okay, he
Anchor.
is legit just that strong.
And as referees like, again, that's consistent with the original myth where Beowulf holds his breath for a stupid amount of time.
Beautiful. All right, the music. Alan Silvestri did the music for this film.
It's not the worst thing I heard, but it's just there. Sorry.
It definitely goes to that school of, hey, this fills the scene. It works. You probably won't remember the soundtrack, though. Was that a reference to Sleeping Beauty?
The whole jumping. Hello there.
I love how he peeks his head up there, like,
this
hey,
is not
come here often.
This is not Mulholland Drive, Robert Bob Zemeckis. So try again.
But hey, look, the Queen did something.
Their story arc is complete because they help each other. Whatever movie.
My queen, meet your stepson.
Good to know. Actually, technically, this is the second one because remember, Grendel was the first.
Oh God.
It keeps happening. To quote Sweet Boy and Hella Jeff. Oh,
this girl needs to find better people. Ooh.
Get it? He almost got castrated on the flagpole.
This woman needs to find better men to love.
Hey, I'm back.
you're doing this again.
It's like this film wants to be partly a horror film.
Hey, wait a minute. That's the one dragon's weakness in The Hobbit.
Yes and no. In here, we specifically, say that it's the throat, which is connected a bit to the heart. While in The Hobbit, it showcases that the Smaug's entire underbelly was technically considered the weak point. So, ingeniously, he used the diamonds, the gemstones that the dwarves had in the Lonely Mountain as a makeshift armor. But Bilbo notices that there's a weak spot that the Smaug had not, replenished. And he tells that to the bird, which, the bird relays to Bard in the critical moment and uses the black arrow to kill Smaug with that. In the Peter Jackson movie, which I will have to show you yet, that's about it. The black arrow is reconverted as a ballista. Yeah, really. So you'll be able to see how they fucked that up. Ta-da!
He legit partially cut off his other arm just to reach.
Come on.
Well, crud. Now what?
I love the expression.
And then he makes the heroic sacrifice to save them. Because he loves them
Sweet.
both, I guess.
Finish him! He's going full
Kano
Kano.
wins.
Yeah, it's going full Kano on him. I love that the
Yeah.
heart is so small.
I love
Now that's-
Fatality.
He gave him a heart attack.
I think that's more than just a heart attack, Jova.
No, he attacked his heart. There you go.
I guess in a technical sense.
Whee!
Sploosh.
Well, father and son die together.
Do you want to?
Oh yeah, this is still happening.
Would you kindly pull her up now?
Long live the queen.
Thank you.
That horse is surprisingly calm up there. Oh!
It keeps happening. I told you about, predicament, bro. I told you, dog.
Did we really need the bridge falling apart to be slow motion there, guys?
It's symbolism.
Is it?
Yes.
Because he burnt
Um,
bridges, I
it's-
guess.
Yeah, it's symbolic. The king, the king destroyed the bridge, just as he did in figuratively speaking, I guess. Or no, I got it. The bridge is a linkway, but when he died, obviously the linkway was cut. So it's a symbolism of how he's dead.
And now here is Ray Winstone as a golden man.
It's like John Candy in the heavy metal movie.
I'm sorry, son.
I'm sorry, father.
Well,
I think.
he's dead. His heart has been ripped off from his body. Goodbye.
Bye, son.
Wow, I didn't know we had the Golden Surfer.
That was a productive
yeah.
family reunion.
But yeah, no, that's legit Ray Winstone looking at Ray Winstone. I don't even get why.
I'm starting to believe this
A reflection.
I'm starting to believe there's a shade of anti-project in this movie.
Getting too old for this. Why not? The fact that you're alive right now is a miracle.
For reference in the original myth, Beowulf literally gets his neck chomped off by the dragon and still survives for a while.
Like, that's kind of the thing. Yeah, he does die in the original poem as well, but here it seems like he has enough life in him that they could at least try and heal him. About that, friend.
I'm turning live action.
So he technically doesn't get to tell him the truth, but he was trying to tell him with his dying breath.
So, to conclude, in the original myth, Beowulf gets entombed in one of those, hill tombs, similar to the one that you saw in Rohan in Lord of the Rings, along with the treasure that the supposed legend says is still, there to this day. One instead here, if I recall correctly, they give him a Viking funeral, by, setting up his corpse on a boat.
We couldn't save his other arm for it. Oh, but instead of firing an arrow, they pour molten magma on it.
Maybe it's molten gold that they're using. Still,
And now,
and now Wigraf is the king. Was he?
So as my first official act as king, fuck it, this kingdom's disbanded. It's more trouble than it's worth. Go home.
also, what is Imfirth doing in the background? Maybe it's the motion capture, but it looks like he's doing a mouth.
They want to
gaping wide
represent the
open
fact that he's
thing.
very old and cannot, stand himself up. I get it. It's still
Okay,
a bit
fair enough.
comes off a bit goofy, but I've seen old people unfortunately be like that.
I do like the little touch that the boy he was kind of pushing around is now the man
Alright.
basically taking care of him.
And now for a final fuck you that the movie can give to us.
He's still alive. He
Oh,
was
wait
reborn as
for
a
it.
phoenix.
Worse than
Wait, no, I'm still alive.
Wonder Woman swoops in and saves him.
Yes. Oh, good lord. Oh god, we still have yet to commentate on that movie. That damned horn again.
Cool, we have Phoenix down. Oh.
Oops. He literally shows up at his funeral just to make out with his corpse. While naked.
That's necrophilia, sweetie. I wouldn't recommend doing that.
I like that Angelina Jolie took this in stride. So basically, you want me to be naked the whole time and do all manner of sexual deviant activities. Yes, Miss Jolie. I understand if it's too much. Oh no, I'm game. Oh, that was awkward.
Verily. And here we go.
She really likes to peek up from the water like
Here's
that.
your final fuck you from the movie. The cycle will continue again.
Why even? Like, if she wanted revenge, she got it. Beowulf is dead.
Bobby Man, what are you telling me that, the Kingdom of Scandinavia was founded upon a court of lice and deceit? Because, I don't get it, man.
And mind you, if this is her wanting revenge for the death of her dragon son, dumbass, you sent your dragon son after his father this time, so it's not even like Grendel where he was just being an idiot himself. Come join me for a swim.
I wouldn't recommend that. Again, not speaking for personal experience, but basic biology 101. Friction is a bad thing for you, so stay lubricated, kids.
Yeah, but it's Angelina Jolie. You wouldn't do it for her.
And they stare at each other, and they stare.
Yeah, I want to realize that he's ignoring my question.
And they keep staring. Can you move on, movie?
Is this Twilight?
Oh, what? You didn't want to do one last jump scare with her face?
I have no idea why the movie turns to a sepia filter before fading to black, but whatever. Movie's over. No post-credit scene, so Beowulf will not be invited to... I cannot even say an initiative because this was co-shared between Paramount and Warner Bros. But, man, what a mess.
Again, were they trying to hint at a sequel or something for
don't think
Beowulf
so.
of all things?
I don't really think they wanted to franchise this shit.
All
Alright,
right,
final
so
thoughts,
final
Libs.
thoughts. Well, that was honestly, I thought this was, for the most part, just pretty boring. Like things just happen, and the way it's the way they tell it. I don't think it's very engaging. The CG is mostly fine. There are a couple of really rough bits there. Oh yeah, by the way, the song's sung by Idina Menzel.
Yeah, we actually get her for one more role for just a song.
Wow, so Elsa was a part of the Beowulf mythology.
Clearly.
The music's just kind of there. I think all the actors are giving a solid effort in spite of everything.
What did you think of the pacing, the characters, the theming?
It all just felt so bloody slow.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's not even 2 hours long, and yet the movie just feels like it goes on forever.
Uh-huh.
Like, I literally feel 2 years older at the moment. I mean, to be honest, yeah, I do prefer the 1999 film more than this.
I'll take your word for it. Again, I'm curious to check it out at some point.
But yeah, that's me done.
Dedge.
Or like boring wolf.
Hey yo.
Workshop
No.
that, but go on.
Fine, boo wolf.
Better.
But honestly, it was whatever. As a movie, it's something that you would put on. Like I'll like if it's on TV, I'll leave it on while I do other chores, listen to the background. But what you guys told me of how it presents the original myth or poem, it does feel like a complete betrayal of it.
Like, that's the thing. For the first act, it's more or less in line with it. Grendel shows up, causes trouble, Beowulf defeats Grendel, and the mother swears revenge. It's as soon as we get to the second act of the poem is where things go off the rails, basically. Which is weird. Like, so you had it going like this, but then you chose to do something completely different.
I think the moral of the story is never make anything out of spite.
Yeah. Didn't you made a post recently that talked about it?
About making stuff out of spite.
Yeah, and how it doesn't work.
I guess unless you're Kendrick Lamar.
God.
His most successful year basically fueled on spite. Though to be fair, Drake was literally asking for it.
But at the same time, it's just not everyone has that energy in them to be successful. It's just I'm always want to be like, oh, this is a good idea, but I feel like the story wouldn't translate well to an adaptation, or you actually like the idea but felt some things were a bit wonky and maybe a bit fixing, and go ahead and do that. Just don't do it to act like you're better. Do it because you saw an idea and the potential in something.
I want to be a bit fair. We don't have anything specifically stating that that was Zemeckis' thought pattern. It's just how the movie comes off that feels like it. But I can believe that he just legit thought he was breathing new life into the mythos with his take on it, as opposed to going, oh, well, I can totally make something better. Especially since wasn't Zemeckis not even that familiar with the original poem as well? Like, I mean, he was aware of it, but he was more like just attached to the project in that regard.
We also have to remember about the writing team. Outside of, the elephant in the room that is Neil Gaiman, there's also the other writer we haven't talked about yet, Roger Avery, which he has wrote for things like some minor contribution to scripts like True Romance and Reservoir Dogs, but also wrote stuff like Pulp Fiction, Mr. Stitch, and the first Silent Hill movie.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Oh, So maybe this is a case of the writers being the one mainly at fault. Don't get me wrong, I get it. A director is supposed to helm a project, but there are so many projects where a director does not
I
have
can also
control over how the
see
script
I can
goes.
also see a bit of fingerprints of Neil Gaiman into the project because again, if you haven't read The Sandman, just to let you know, the way that he talks about mythologies and deities is a bit more on par with this kind of deconstructing fleet that this movie wants to have. Anyway, anything else, Dad?
Yeah. Good.
All right. As for me, again, I don't remember what exactly my opinion was when we first did the commentary, but this is a movie where the more I watch it, the less enjoyment I do get. I still am fine with the animation for the most part. You can tell it has aged, but I am okay with it, for the vast majority of it. Certainly better than fucking Mars Needs Moms. Good lord. I'll need to see again Polar Express to see how it has aged for that. Remind me, Dad, have you seen Mars Needs Mom yet?
No.
Oh God, that's another
That
alcohol-inducing
has Seth
product.
Green in it, right?
Yes,
Okay.
they even do one of the sloppiest title drop possible in that movie. That it feels like an actual joke, but we're not here for that. Thankfully, we're done with that travesty, at least for this channel. Um, Again, like I said, the animation feels still relatively fine on my end. The problem, no, really, the music and the acting are also fine, although recycling Ray Winston for multiple roles, even if they try to be connected, like the father and son kind of routine, does feel cheapens out a bit, if you ask me. And this comes to the biggest problem, that is obviously the plot. Really, no, this. I really need to see yet the end of 90s adaptation, that we've seen, but it cannot be worse than this, if I have to be honest. This gets the aesthetic right, with how these Scandinavian mythos would have looked like, but unfortunately, it fucks up with the execution by deciding to take liberties out of the desire of interpreting the story into a more dramatic, direction. Which, again, in itself is not necessarily a big problem, but the execution makes the product utterly unenjoyable if you know the context about it. Again, I can imagine the 71% Rotten Tomato comes from people who just were, not aware about the original goes and were just presented a traditional fantasy movie with a beginning, a middle, and an end. A dramatic story about a cycle of corruption, revenge, and atoning for your past sin. Simple as. But when it comes to the context of the poem of Beowulf, I'm sorry, this is just not working. This is deeply unsatisfying if you know how things went. Again, I'm curious on what the actual people of Scandinavia thought about the movie. Maybe, it's from them mostly the scholars of the original poem, where it comes from, because I can imagine it is not a flattering picture. Again, obviously it doesn't have the same gravity that something like, say, the Magic Voyage would have in representing, Christopher Columbus journeying towards the Americas. But, it has some of the same thought process, the idea of, and something more akin to, say, the movie, the original musical and then the animated movie based on the life of Anastasia Romanova. Uh, like the intent of creating an interesting story about it, but fucking up if you know the context about what happened to the usual case. The difference being that was a real person. This is thankfully just a fictional myth. But you get what I mean. No, I'm very open for someone else to take another crack at the mythos at one point, but knowing also how the industry tend to work these days, they will just applying their own set of different changes to interpret the story in another way. So I will probably be equally unsatisfying, just in a different context, unfortunately. But that's how things go, I suppose. But I think that's pretty much it for me. Java.
Well spoken, well said.
However,
I'll admit. Yes. However, I'll admit thinking back to our original commentary, I recalled this movie somewhat similar, but also quite different from how I see it now, essentially. Like, I'll admit, I guess I must have had a Mandela effect, because I could have sworn there was at least a segment of the movie where Beowulf actually gets to meet his son in human form before meeting him as a dragon, but nope, that's not the case here, which really does harken to issues with the pace, which alright, let me lay it down here first off. The pace does feel wonky and jerky. Like, it feels fine enough for the first act, but then acts 2 and 3 feel like they can't decide how fast or how slow they want to go. And argue, I feel like the prioritization of what actually gets drawn up or what's just slapdash done is not chosen well, to say the least. Like, we literally have a scene involving the king's wife and his concubine, and I don't see the point in it, really, honestly. Like, it's not like it really factors much into the plot. Like, you didn't even need to focus on the queen or the concubine as much. Like, it is really legit just a story about Beowulf, essentially. Like, you could have maybe gone into how he had true love for the queen, but then fell out of love with her to the point where he needs a concubine, but nope, that's when they just decided to time skip and skip stuff here. I'll admit, part of me was expecting this was going to be more of a riffing session at how bad this movie is, but I'll admit, it's not as terrible as I thought it would be. I think the problem is, though, it's caught in that purgatory of being, like, not bad enough that it's, like, a riot to get through, but it's not good enough that it's something to marvel at either. Like, I can respect the technology of the time here, but as far as the plot goes, it feels like Beowulf just without the fun. I mean, again, the first act seems to get the idea of, yes, it can be very violent, spooky, and gory even, but still at least enough of an action romp. But with Acts 2 and 3, they feel like they're trying to be way too solemn and taking themselves way too seriously. Like, some of the action scenes are nice, but not enough. And yeah, I really don't like how they make Grendel's mother just a complete karma Houdini. Like, so she's just so powerful that nothing can kill her. If that's the case, why didn't she stop Grendel then? I'm sure she has some powers to restrain him from doing that stupid stuff, which she was warning would get him killed. Which, again, means that her original plan wasn't even to mess with the humans. She was telling Grendel to stay away, but nope, after Grendel died, apparently not only does she decide to torment Beowulf, she wants to again try it again with his friend Wiglaf because
Shut up.
I really don't know. Like, it doesn't make sense even. Like, this is why part of me figures that this movie wasn't so much made out of spite at the original plot, because half the time it feels like it's just dumb decisions as opposed to trying to prove, oh, we're better. I feel where the nature of it supposedly trying to prove it's better does come from its more cynical and deconstructive nature, most notably with having it be that, oh, Beowulf succumbs to his inner lust and whatnot. Again, the problem is that clashes with the idea when you realize that Angelina Jolie was invincible. Literally, all he could do was stall her rampage, and technically that wasn't even his fault. That was because of some slave who stole the treasure, which, again, prompted the deal, essentially. Steal from my cave, now you suffer my wrath, essentially. And it's not even like she apparently regrets the death of this other son, like... So, yeah, that's another thing I don't get. She loved Grendel so much that she vowed revenge on him, but she doesn't seem broken up on this other son. So, is it just child favoritism? Was this other son literally just a tool? And in that case, though, does that mean she legit loved the original king who helped birth Grendel? Oh god, it raises too many questions the more you think about it.
Brilliant.
And the thing is, it's from like this one plot point that all the plot holes erupt from. It's insane, but the thing is, that plot point is a linchpin to the whole story. So if that doesn't work, the story falls on its face, essentially. again, like, and it seems like nowadays a lot more people are kind of wisening up to this movie not being great. Like, from what I've seen across websites and whatnot, at best, this film is mostly regarded in a mixed fashion. There are some people who do like it, but most people do point out that this is like the most weird adaptation of the narrative, in the fact that it's also the only one that does the stupid thing of making the dragon the son of Beowulf and Grendel's mother. Because again, from that one plot point, you change the story so much in that regard.
I think also when it comes to Robert Zemeckis CGI mocap era, people tend to remember only Polar Express and A Christmas Carol. The stuff that happened in between, like this and Mars Needs Moms, tends to be mostly forgotten.
Wait, oh god, right? Like, I get the feeling with this, like, Zemeckis' involvement was mostly about of him wanting to do something like adventure fantasy, something that could be enjoyed by adults with the animation technology, I guess. Again, I'm not sure on how much involvement he had with actually plotting out the story here. That being said, yeah, I feel like that's the biggest problem with the film. The story. Like, yeah, the effects do look a bit wonky, but I feel like it looks fine enough as a period piece and whatnot, and, the whole machinations are neat. Kind of a bit weird that Ray Winstone's like the one character whose likeness they never use whatsoever, and he mocaps 3 different characters.
That feels
Beowulf
like a
himself.
joke.
Yeah, Beowulf himself, the little person actor, and the dragon slash son. Huh. Okay. This film is a mess. But if you're really, really enthusiastic to, like, I don't know, collect them all with Beowulf adaptations and media, sure, give this a watch, essentially. Like, again, you're definitely probably not going to like this if you prefer the original narrative of Beowulf. But even if you aren't familiar with it, the whole thing kind of leaves you feeling unsatisfied. Like, yes, he beat the dragon and I guess saved the day, but it's implied that things are going to start anew with Grendel's mother still being around, so.
Tough luck.
Oops. Look, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It was a weird project. It had people who loved it, apparently, but it didn't make the money it needed to. And the sad thing is, part of me wonders if the only reason for that is just that the budget was ballooned by the effects usage. Like, who knows? Probably on a smaller budget, this could have been a success. But it's kind of like the opposite of a cult classic. Like, again, there are people who still like it, but it feels like the reputation of this film has not exactly improved with age. If anything, it's kind of gone the other way. It is what it is at the end of the day. A mixed bag, essentially. Make of that what you will. I guess I can say I wasn't as befuddled as I was the first time we commentated on it, but otherwise, I'm not really that interested in coming back to this movie. That being said, I will agree with you. It's better than Mars Needs Moms.
Yeah.
Congratulations for jumping over that puddle, little Timmy.
Alright, so I guess we'll see you for whatever Robert Zemeckis mocap stuff we'll do in the future. See ya.
See you then.